Welcome to our few moments together on the Parsha. Baruch Hashem, it's a pleasure to be back to be able to learn a little bit of the Parsha with everyone. I'd like to thank all our wonderful members and Mispalim for all their tefillos, which Baruch Hashem are coming true daily as I'm feeling better each day. I've been to shul already, and Yetz Hashem will continue to get better, and I hope to see everyone in shul as soon as possible to be able to resume the giving of the shiurim and the learning of Torah. This week's parsha is Parshas Emor, which is filled with over 10% of the mitzvahs of the Torah, a total of 63 out of the 613 mitzvahs. The Perek Chav Gimel begins with the parshios of the Moadim. It has to do with the festivals. And it starts, of course, with the festival of Pesach. And right after Pesach, it goes into the counting of the Omer. And it mentions that the counting of the Omer was a time of bringing karbanos. And as we know, it was a festive time. In fact, according to Chazal, the time of the Omer between Pesach and Shavuos was a little bit like Chol HaMoed. It was a 49-day break in which there was nothing but simcha and a little bit like a Yom Tov. Unfortunately, as we know, the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva passed away during this period of time, as the Gemara in Yevamos points out, that they passed away al shelo nohogu kavod zeh lo zeh, that they didn't give honor one to the other. And the Gemara goes on to tell us that Rabbi Akiva, rather than despair and give up hope, found 5 new students and hein ha'emidu Torah ba'os hashah, that they were the ones who once again brought back the Torah at that time. Now, the thing that stands out was that there was something missing in the statement that the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva did not get from Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva himself said in last week's Sedge in Parshas Kedoshim, and it's brought down in the Yerushalmi, in Masechta Nedarim and Perek Tes Mishnah Dalid, where Rabbi Akiva says, "V'ahavta l'recha kamocha," love your neighbor as yourself, zeh klal gadol b'Torah. This is a big general rule throughout the Torah. What exactly the words zeh klal gadol b'Torah mean is open for much discussion. Does it mean that among the 613 commandments, this is a standout member of the 613 and it's a big rule compared to all the others? Or does it mean perhaps that within each and every one of the mitzvahs, there is an element of v'ahavta l'recha kamocha? No matter where you go, no matter how you turn, no matter how you balance it, the fact is that love your neighbor as yourself can be seen as a large general rule throughout the Torah, and that it can find itself permeating each and every one of the commandments. That's another possibility, of course, of what v'ahavta l'recha kamocha means. The Hamek Dover, the Netziv, when he talks about v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself, he gives a very interesting example. He said, let's say someone was using a knife to cut a piece of bread, and by mistake, when he was cutting the piece of bread, he accidentally cut his finger with the knife. He was holding the knife in the right hand, and he was holding the bread in the left hand, and he cut his finger with the knife. Would he now say, "Oh, really? You right hand, you cut my finger? Now I'm going to take the knife, and I'm going to cut the right hand finger"? Of course not. You'd never do that, because you're one body. And that's perhaps what Rabbi Akiva meant when he said, "V'ahavta l'recha kamocha," you should love your neighbor as yourself, because we, the Jewish people, are one whole body. And we love each other despite the fact that we're different. And every one of us is different. But at the same time, we would never consider cutting our right hand because it made a mistake and cut the left hand. So the element of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, according to Rabbi Akiva, is a great klal in the Torah. The Mefarshim point out that despite the fact that it's very lofty to make the statement, love your neighbor as yourself, there are and have to be parameters for this law, because otherwise there's no law at all. And as the Mefarshim point out, socialism perhaps tried to do a number on love your neighbor as yourself. Democracy has a certain element of love your neighbor as yourself. Even the most extreme isms, which claimed a loyalty of faith and belief, are filled with evil because there's no rule of law. And therefore you have to pay attention to the words of the psukim in Kedoshim where it says, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha ani Hashem. I am Hashem. If the underpinning of loving one's neighbor is faith in Hashem, then there are going to be rules and regulations and parameters by which people show love and what's considered love and what's acceptable in terms of love and what's totally unacceptable in terms of love. In the world at large today, it seems as if everyone has their own definition, and you can't tell me what to do because I love my neighbor in my own way, in my skewered way perhaps, but that's my thinking. And along comes the Torah and says, no. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, it's got to be that you love your neighbor as yourself. Ani Hashem, I am Hashem. And that's why it says lireyacha. You have to give to your neighbor that which Hashem has given you. And when we do that, then we're able to fulfill the concept of brotherly love, caring because of the law of the faith in God, which is immutable and tells us without any unusual isms, without any false promises or premises, without any human made-up ideology, which falls by the wayside over all the centuries and shows us that the only real V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha is the V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha of the Torah, as it says in the Pasuk, Ani Hashem. And that's why Rabbi Akiva was capable of starting all over and teaching the Torah again and bringing out all that the Torah meant to teach by V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. We hope and pray that we will once again be zocheh to have the period of time from Pesach until Shavuos return to the concept of being like a Chol HaMoed, a little bit of a Yom Tov, 49 days counting up to the Matan Torah on Har Sinai, whereby we all fulfill the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. I want to wish everyone a wonderful good Shabbos. Hope to see you and to join together with you in the davening and learning in our beautiful shul together with all of Klal Yisrael. And we should be zocheh to see the Binyan Beis HaMikdash B'mheira V'yameinu. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom Umevorach.